really proud to finally reveal Path of Exile 4.0. Well, that feels amazing. So right away, as Jonathan plays through the graveyard, you'll notice the massive improvements we've made to the Path of Exile engine since 3.0 was released. It even gives you a single keybind you could use to cast all of your auras with one click. Come on. For a year, we've had a few developers working on a bit of an experimental skunkworks project at the studio. Let's watch a video about it.
So mobile games are kind of bullshit, right?
So this is what it looks like. One of the major benefits of this project was the tech we developed.
So, you may have looked in your swag bag and found a box with some cards in it. At ExileCon, we really wanted players to interact with our staff. If you can get far enough in maps to kill the Guardians, you'll be able to collect fragments required to challenge the Shaper. Of course, that's me.
Wow. Yeah. That was wild. Path of Exile 2. When can they play it? I want to play it. An hour, dude. Chill. But that's like 60 minutes away. True. Too long.
Well, you did a good job. I think we were all impressed you didn't die. We were kind of hoping that you would.
Right.
But at least maybe I can be the fall guy and show people truly how difficult the content is as it mercilessly defeats me.
Right. At low levels, I think it's a lot more acceptable because you're... Whoa, there you go. Haha, awesome.
Yay.
We got you, we got you.
Here it comes. Any sec now. What the hell?
You have to play through in the campaign you selected. Even if it kills you constantly.
Not constantly, just 3 times. Okay, I was really hoping not to die.
Any other insights you'd like to share? Now, yep, that was mine.
Yeah. Oh, that was so close. So close.
My mind is blown. It's way more than I expected. I feel like I'm nowhere near grasping it, and a mobile game.
Game is an authentic and true experience of me not turning my auras on. I'm going to do it in the combat here. Oh, well, yep, no, this is fine. This is fine. That's fine. Have you thought about toilet playability? I mean, we're like...
It's mobile.
With more than 2 stats, like you have attack, you have defense for some games. We have a lot more going on there, and I respect that. So...
Was that even dunking? That was an extremely light dunk.
People doubt my hardcore ability all the time, but trust me, it's there.
Exactly.
And I don't like what's happening now.
Get out of here!
Локомотив, что ли?
You got a skeleton on screen where you walked over and clicked on him and you hit him and he fell over. It was like, oh, okay, this is going to be something.
We're here for the grand final ExileCon race. This has been a long series of events leading up to this. We've had 4 separate qualifiers, plenty of epic moments.
Well, it's great to have all of you here. I am in awe of your abilities. Thank you so much for being good at my game. I appreciate it. Would you please take your seats at the pods?
And we've got the first players killing Hillock. Obviously, picking up all these items is very valuable. Havoc, again, is the first person to get into the Warden's quarters.
We have a breaking announcement.
So we're going to restart the race, and I'm sorry, we screwed up.
We are up once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Waggle!
Largo, that is... You might also recognize the Havoc's already in the second zone.
When did that happen?
Where just coming to play a lot of people.
Oh! What? Wait, what?
Is that a tabula rasa for Tactic Killer?
And having exactly that experience here, only just managing to slip between the 2 ice shots that would have ended his life.
These gaps are getting huge. Something, no, nope. Just... Oh, he doesn't even look at him. He didn't even look him in the eyes. Time 23 takes it.
Congratulations.
Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thanks for joining us today as we reveal Path of Exile's next expansion, Lake of Calandra, which launches on PC and Mac on August 19th, and on Xbox and PlayStation on August 24th. Twitch drops are enabled for today's livestream, so make sure you follow the instructions below to link your account and earn your Wrangler wings. Here's what you can expect from today's livestream. First, we'll debut the trailer for the Lake of Calandra expansion, and then dive into its challenge league. We'll discuss the further improvements we're making to Path of Exile's endgame in this release. There's a slew of new unique items for us to cover, and also a broad power boost to many different uniques. We've got a selection of new skill and support gems to reveal, and are excited to unveil our plans for revamping 3 past leagues. Then we'll cover more details about game balance before revealing this league's new supporter packs and what's going to happen in the lead up to launch next week. Our livestream ends with a Q&A session hosted by Ziggy D, where you can ask me your questions in Twitch chat. Then we'll post the full patch notes for you to check out. But before we show you the trailer for Lake of Calandra, I wanted to talk to you about ExileCon. Back in 2019, we were ready to announce Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile Mobile, and we wanted to do it with a bang. We filled a venue with thousands of Path of Exile fans from around the world and ran our first ExileCon convention. It was an amazing experience, full of fans interacting with developers, and everyone who attended can vouch for the amazing energy at the event. Announcing Path of Exile 2 on that stage was one of the highlights of my life. Since then, we've been hard at work on Path of Exile 2. Now that we're getting close to release, we will finally be ready to announce the date that the closed beta starts at ExileCon 2023. We're holding ExileCon 2023 in August, on the weekend of the 29th and 30th of July 2023. In addition to the beta start date, we'll also be announcing everything there is to know.
Что-то я таки думал, что завезут на POE 2. Будет объявление. Вот оно и подъехало, блядь.
See all the presentations live, meet our development team, hang out with their favorite streamers, and much more. The first wave of tickets will go on sale in 2 weeks. We'll make a news post tomorrow with more information so that you have time to determine if you're able to attend before the tickets go on sale. We are so excited to finally talk about what we've been working on, and to let some of you experience the next generation of action RPGs. In the meantime, we have a strong lineup of Path of Exile 1 expansions underway, and today we're proud to unveil Path of Exile Lake of Calandra, which launches next week.
Exile, you have wandered far to arrive at the shores of my lake. A hidden realm I have overseen for long time myself. These waters harbor deadly secrets. Rayclast is reflected here. Reassemble it as you see fit. But the mirror distorts reality. Beware the image that strikes back.
Каучан. Да ладно, Харвест. Охренеть. Харвест и иномирцев переработают. Что ж не с Харвестом сделают?
In the Calandra Challenge League, you will travel to the mirrored lake that granted Calandra her powers of reflection. We want you to experience the story for yourself, so I'll avoid spoiling the details here. When you get to explore the league next week, you'll find out more about Calandra and her motivations. Your experience with Calandra so far is probably of a coveted mirror, which duplicates items by reflecting them. The lake itself has the power to reflect entire encounters from elsewhere in Rayclust. As you explore the lake, these reflections emerge from its mirrored surface. Sometimes these reflections are encounters with hordes of monsters. And sometimes you'll encounter extremely powerful foes, reflected from elsewhere in Rayclust. Often, reflections involve League content, such as this encounter with a Harbinger boss. As you play through the League, you'll occasionally encounter a set of columns protruding from the ground, with a mirrored tablet on top. This tablet invites you to construct a custom set of encounters at the Lake of Calandra, offering a series of different reflections to place in whatever layout you wish. Each of these reflections represents an encounter that you must defeat when you next travel to the lake.
Как и все лиги, когда первый раз смотришь.
Once you have assigned a reflection to every location on your mirror tablet, which will take a few areas, you can open a portal to the Lake of
И
Calandra
внизу так и
itself.
открываешь, правильно? Ну да.
There you will get to experience these reflections of Rayclust as Calandra manifests each encounter you have chosen.
Времени нет никакого вроде.
But as you push farther out onto the lake-shrouded waters, you will find each encounter to be more difficult, but more rewarding. This difficulty value counts up by 1 for each location away from the entrance the encounter is. Players wanting the best rewards will try to engineer tablets that have long, windy strings of encounters, reaching very high difficulty values by the end. To do this, there are occasional options that can be chosen which allow you to move and swap the entrance, reflections, and water tiles on the tablet. Additionally, as you progress through the lake, you'll be able to unlock special abilities that let you manipulate the options you have available on each tablet. If you don't like any of the choices available to you, you can earn the ability to skip picking one entirely. The next ability is even stronger. It lets you re-roll the list of options so that you can immediately pick another one. Finally, you can earn the ability to exile a choice entirely. For the rest of this tablet, that choice will no longer appear. Once you reach maps, you'll be able to itemize your mirrored tablets so that they don't have to be played immediately. They can be stored for later or traded with other players.
Можно портал запаковать?
As you visit the Lake of Calandra to attempt your mirrored tablets, there are many types of rewards you can find.
Это, конечно, хорошо.
An encounter that is based on a past
Они
league
понимают, что, блядь, не
implicitly
все будут
grants the
проходить,
rewards
это
from that league, but with extra juice so that you're not missing out on bonuses you'd have obtained if your Atlas tree applied to the lake. Other encounters that aren't based on past leagues generally yield a reward chest that rises out of the lake when you complete the encounter. Certain reflections grant you access to a new variation on rare items, exclusive to the Calandra Challenge League. When you complete the encounter, you'll get access to some reflecting mist, which presents you with a difficult choice. It generates a rare ring or amulet with an unusual set of mods. Some are very high, and some are very negative, which hurt your character.
Чё, блядь?
The item is then duplicated, with a reflected copy having inverse mods. Negative ones are now positive and vice versa. The amount that all of these mods are scaled up by is based on the difficulty of the encounter you just completed. You may only pick one of these items to keep. It'll often be a tough choice, with each item having its own strong pros and cons. But sometimes you'll be offered an item where the negative mods aren't downsides for your build, and the juiced up positive mods are very attractive. There are also some special new jewelry base types that you can rarely receive from this process. One rare and difficult encounter rewards you with an advanced version of
Такие
this
предметы
crafting
перевезут,
process.
опять же, на стандарт
Your
потом.
own ring or amulet,
И
distorting
оставшимися
and reflecting it with the
рекомбинаторами,
same
блядь,
process
вот эту
described before.
хуйню будут крафтить на стандарте.
The mods are scaled up in
На
value and
стандарте
some
такие
are
шмотки
randomly
будут сильные,
negated.
просто пиздец.
The reflection copy has the inverse set
Бля.
of negations. It will certainly be tempting to gamble with some of your best jewelry to try to double the values that really matter for your build.
Можно
and
плюс
negate
2
the
камням
ones you don't care
получать.
about.
Это жестко.
If you're very lucky, you may find a special League-exclusive unique ring at the lake. Calandra's touch mirrors the effect of your other ring. The Calandra Challenge League has something for everyone. It's an out-of-area combat league where you build your own sequences of encounters. It lets you fully dictate your desired level of risk and reward and fully customize what content you play. It features a powerful crafting system, valuable rewards, and offers a glimpse into the lore of one of Path of Exile's most iconic characters. We can't wait to play it with you next week.
Короче, это кольцо будет дохуя стоить, я так понимаю.
In every expansion leading up to Path of Exile 2's release, we'll be improving Path of Exile's endgame with new content to explore and new ways to customize your endgame experience. In the Lake of Calandra expansion, we're introducing Atlas Memories. They aren't a league feature, they're part of the core game, affecting standard and persisting once the Calandra League has ended. In maps, you'll very rarely find a memory item,
Если это кольцо будет реально копировать
that an NPC has about
предмет,
their past.
другое кольцо будет
Something special
копировать.
happened to them while exploring maps, and you're able to experience those
Это
events for
будет много
yourself.
стоить.
Let's have a look at a couple of examples. In this Atlas memory, Kirik tells you about the time that he stumbled across a staging ground for a
Они на
Harbinger
карту добавили
invasion
для
of
портала?
Rayquest. Each successive map you play in the sequence has more and more Harbinger portals and invaders that you must deal with. This is a memory of Nico's, where he entered a sequence of maps that were entirely consumed by permanent
Да ладно,
breaches,
вся карта
like a
разлом?
Breach Lord's domain. He survived to talk about it, but will you? Right-click a memory and apply it to a completed map on your atlas. It'll mark out a series of adjacent maps that the atlas memory will span. When you next talk to the relevant NPC in your hideout, they'll tell you about their recollections and will allow you to start exploring the memory. Each map in the sequence is provided for free by the NPC, and you'll be able to roll it like usual before running it. Because these maps are memories of the NPC, they are not
Но это касается не только лиги, это обновление на стандарт тоже будет. Это хорошо. Можно на стандарте продолжать играть.
Each successive map in the sequence
То есть
gets
все, что
harder
не
and more
касается
rewarding
лиги
as the memories
механики, все будет на
intensify.
стандарте.
While memories are tradable, they're also
И вот
very
эти
rare
разломы,
and
блядь,
valuable,
это
so you'll
пиздец.
probably want to complete them yourself if you can. For players who love lore, Atlas Memories help expand on the backstory of key
Уникальные
NPCs.
монстры,
For
сущности.
players wanting to try out different league mechanics at quite high
Музыка
levels of
так.
juice that they haven't specialized their Atlas for, Memories let them do this without a bunch of respecking. And for everyone else, Atlas Memories are a great way to earn some valuable items, if you're strong enough to complete them.
Ебать, насыпало.
The Lake of Calandra expansion also contains a new unique map that I'm quite excited about.
Ультиматум?
The Trial Master is back.
Ультиматум?
This boss from Ultimatum, and more importantly, the unique items he drops, have been sorely missed and will be making a return as the Tower of Ordeal's unique map in Lake of Calandra. This map can be created by completing difficult endgame Val content. We have not forgotten about the rest of Ultimatum and have a specific plan for how it will return in the future.
Только боссы, короче.
Whenever we're improving Path of
Где
Exile's
его найти?
endgame, we take every opportunity we can to add new variations of rewards that you can find. We don't want to say too much about how these are acquired, but in this expansion, it's
Короче, верну
possible
только
to very
босса.
rarely find special foil versions of any pinnacle boss unique item. These have the same stats as regular ones, but are certain to be highly prized by collectors or wealthy players wanting to show off. The Lake of Calandra expansion contains 14 new unique items. In addition to the Calandra's Touch Ring that is exclusive to the Calandra Challenge League, we have introduced a new endgame pinnacle boss reward, a supporter unique, the Tower of Ordeal's unique map, 6 new Grand Spectrum jewels, and even some leveling uniques. The first we're showing you today is Soul Ascension, a pair of gloves designed by Zizaran. They drop from the Uber Elder. Soul Eater is a very powerful buff, but it is usually hard to obtain in boss fights. This unique grants you the ability to gain stacks of Soul Eater as a unique enemy, but also makes you lose those stacks if you aren't near one. Ghost Wraith is a leveling unique which allows you to play as an almost pure energy shield character during early parts of the campaign. We'll reveal the other new unique items in this expansion over the next week.
Такое.
Path of Exile has a lot of unique items in its core drop pool, over 700 in fact. We feel that there are two big problems with unique items at the moment. The first is that you find too many, and the second is that they are generally pretty useless when you do. Sure, there are some powerful endgame or build-enabling uniques that feel amazing to find, but the majority of unique items found throughout the game are rarely actually useful to you. In the Lake of Calandra expansion, we have made a lot of changes here. We have reduced the overall drop rate of uniques throughout the game, and have rebalanced and overhauled over 100 existing unique items, with an emphasis on uniques in the core drop pool, including leveling uniques and some endgame uniques. You're going to find unique items less frequently now, but when you do, they're going to be a lot more punchy. Nectar's Lantern has been completely changed from the ground up. Previously, it was trying to allow you to play a hybrid attack and spellcaster, but it didn't really work very well. With the new design, it's a lot more elegant and delivers on this goal by simply granting high damage and the battle mage effect, so that your weapon damage is added to your spells.
Не знаю, посмотрим.
Thousand Ribbons is an example of an item where we merely needed to tweak values on the existing mods to make it a lot better. We want mod value rolls to matter more, and this item now showcases that well. If you find a high rolled one early on, you're probably not replacing it for a long time.
Блядь, хуйня, короче.
Malachai's Simula was trying to deliver the Blood Mage fantasy by allowing you to spend life to cast your spells. This was meant to be special because the Blood Magic Keystone was far away from the Witch starting location on the skill tree. Unfortunately, this item wasn't really powerful enough to justify its use. It has now been overhauled, and alongside Blood Magic, it grants a powerful multiplicative damage boost. With over 100 uniques rebalanced in this way, your play experience is now punctuated by quite large bursts of power when you find one. We'll continue to examine the power level and rarity of more unique items in subsequent expansions. The Lake of Calandra expansion includes 3 new skill gems and 1 new support gem.
Ну, то есть, помимо лиги, блядь, куча всякого еще добавляют.
Skill. Igniting or poisoning the marked target creates burning or caustic ground underneath them, based on the damage of the strongest ignite or poison on the enemy. The damage of the ground effects also scales with Curse and Mark effect, providing a non-standard way to scale your build's damage. Hitting the marked target also refills some of your flask charges.
Короче, для постепенки, я так
opens up an
понимаю.
extra source of damage for Ignite or Poison-focused characters, especially for Ignite builds that want an alternative to Flame Surge, or Poison builds that cause fewer, higher damage poisons. This high-level build uses Flame Blast, with 100% of the damage
Возможно, банки
chaos
сейчас заживут
to
еще,
inflict
блядь.
huge poisons on enemies.
Кстати,
When
реально, сейчас
Alchemist
если
Mark is
банки
cast on an
апнут,
enemy first, that
вот
enemy
этой
drops
маркой,
caustic
эта
ground
марка,
when it's
блядь, апнет,
poisoned, scaled by those big
полон
Flame
тысячных
Blast
банок.
poison hits, melting
Да
everything
ёп,
into a
блядь,
puddle.
любых. И огненный, короче.
Galvanic Field is a new shock-themed spell. When used, you gain a buff.
Короче,
granting
возможно,
a small
постепенка
bonus
сейчас
chance to
заиграет.
shock. When
А
you
что
next
они
shock an enemy,
пока...
the
Вот
buff is
на
consumed
ней
and the
показали.
enemy becomes energized, repeatedly zapping themselves and nearby targets, a lot like ball lightning.
Galvanic Field, поле такое.
If the energized enemy dies, then the enemy
Электрическое,
sits at
блядь.
their location and continues to zap things. Galvanic Field's area of effect and zap damage scale with the strength of the shock on the
Ну,
target.
как-то выглядит такое.
While Galvanic Field is great for any build that shocks, you can even fully build around it, and use a skill with increased shock effectiveness
По
like
идее,
Arc
вот такая
to
херня в
shock enemies
симуляторе
and kill them
нормально.
with a ball of death.
Электрическая.
Lightning Conduit is another new shock-themed spell. A wave propagates out from the target
Ох, вот это
location,
прикольно
causing lightning
выглядит.
bolts to
Накинул,
strike all
взорвал.
shocked enemies in a large area.
Накинул, взорвал, блядь. Ха-ха,
The
прикольная
damage is
штука.
scaled by the strength of the shock on each enemy. Lightning Conduit cannot itself shock and won't hit non-shocked enemies at all. So the challenge with this skill is to find a way to consistently apply
На стандарт, да, добавят,
targets
конечно.
to
Вот
make
это на
the most
стандарте
of
будет.
Lightning Conduit's high damage potential and area
Все
of
изменения, да, на стандарте будут.
This
Кроме
high-level
лиг
build
механики.
uses Wave of
Все
Conviction to
остальное на
shock
стандарте
enemies
будет.
before casting Lightning Conduit until they're obliterated. For long
Выглядит
fights, they can
вкусно,
employ
но,
Galvanic
конечно,
Field
на
to
таком
create a
играть,
constant source of
это
lightning
жесть.
damage.
Ну, бахает прикольно. Сразу или после лиги.
Last but not least, Overcharge Support is a new
Ну,
support
в смысле,
gem
в
that causes
пятницу вечером
supported
добавят
skills to deal less
следующую.
damage, but makes them inflict
Следующую
much stronger
пятницу, не в эту,
shocks and grants
19-го
them a
лиги.
higher chance to
Как
hit.
лига начинается,
Overcharge lets
обновление
many
выходит и
different
туда, и
lightning
туда.
skills create powerful
Ну,
shocks.
будет, блядь.
Use this to
Стандарт
take
это же
advantage
core
of
игры,
Shock's large
это
damage
ядро игры
multiplier,
стандарт.
or to activate Lightning Conduit and Galvanic Field.
Оно в первую очередь на стандарт добавляется. И сразу же запускается лига.
As Path of Exile expands, we often revisit previous leagues, reworking them so they stay relevant and engaging. In Lake of Calandra, we are targeting 3 such leagues: Arch Nemesis, Beyond, and Harvest. The larger context here is that we've been re-examining what role rare and magic monsters have in Path of Exile. The introduction of Arch Nemesis modifiers as the monster mod pool prompted quite a lot of discussion about how often you should encounter rare and magic monsters,
Ну,
how
это читать
difficult
надо
they should be
будет,
to
вот как
kill,
они
and how
переделали эти
rewarding
моды,
their
блядь.
death should be.
Архнемизиса.
Previously, League content made fights hard by
Блять,
spawning
сколько
a lot
дебафов
of rare
кидают,
monsters.
просто пиздец.
A whole lot. In some cases 6 to 8
Ебать,
times the normal
строчка
rate of
просто
rare
дебафов,
monsters.
вот, блядь. Вот такая хуйня была, блядь.
Now that we have better mods available to make fights against rare monsters individually challenging, we have gone through the whole game and normalized the rate that rare monsters are
Да
spawned.
поможет по-любому.
Some leagues had quite large reductions in spawn rate. You won't encounter situations with dozens of rare monsters on screen at once anymore. Alongside this reduction of how many rare monsters you'll face, we have improved their rewards and made sure that they scale with both difficulty of the encounter and any item rarity or quantity bonuses that you have. During the campaign, you'll only encounter 1 and 2 mod rare monsters. The 2 mod encounters are a bit harder and have better drops. In maps, you'll stop encountering 1 mod rare monsters entirely, and will mostly encounter 2 and 3 mod rare monsters. It'll also be possible to encounter 4 mod rare
Ну,
monsters.
типа они распределяют
Not
по
only
пути
are the innate
прохождения
item
игры,
drop
типа
bonuses scaled up
количество модов
significantly on monsters with
на
many
редком
mods,
монстре.
but we have made these challenging encounters rewarding in another way.
Ну, типа, блядь, облегчить игру, грубо говоря, сначала.
About a third of the more powerful
Чтобы они не были
arch-nemesis
слишком
modifiers now
ебанутыми.
use a special reward conversion system. For example, if you defeat a monster with a corruptor mod, all of its drops become corrupted.
Ну, довольно сильно, да.
The Solaris Touched mod converts all of its item drops to maps.
Ну, грубо говоря, минус 3 к камням, блядь.
The Katava Touch mod will cause the rarity of its drops to be upgraded by 1 tier, so
И
magic becomes
скелетом
rare, rare becomes
скидывают
unique,
урон.
and so on. If you're lucky, you can find these
Скелетом модов.
conversion modifiers on both the 3rd
Ебать,
and
просто
4th mod of a rare monster. This causes them to
4
stack
мод Китава
together.
тачит, блядь.
So if you kill a 4 mod rare monster with both the Entangler and Katava Touched mods on it, its heavily juiced drops will also be converted to jewels with their rarity upgraded by a tier. Due to the high amount of inherent item rarity that 4 mod rare monsters have, this may result in several unique jewels dropping.
Ох, нихуя.
This conversion system is fully compatible
Типа
with
они
the item
таких мобов
rarity and
добавят,
quantity
ебанутых.
bonuses, as well as the drop bonuses from all other arch-nemesis mods. Going forward,
Короче,
you
блядь,
want to
будут
make sure
встречаться
that a lot more
ебанутые
item
мобы.
reward mechanics with your character
Прикольно,
item
блядь.
bonuses. Get your
У
magic
кого-то
fight
жопа будет
characters
болеть
ready.
сильно, блядь. Можно, конечно, убежать от него,
As a
блядь.
result of this system, when you do encounter a rare monster with many arch-nemesis mods, you are well rewarded for the difficult fight.
Ох, насыпало, блядь, уников.
We have also been listening to feedback about the arch-nemesis mods that can spawn on magic monsters. Too many of them had external visual clarity issues like on-death effects. We have toned these down on magic monsters so that more of them are stat-based bonuses that aren't so spammy. Encounters that spawn a
да.
series of magic monsters now make sure to preserve the
Да
same
не, некро жить
arch-nemesis
будет.
modifiers
В
between the
любом
monsters
случае,
rather
ну то
than
есть
rolling a different one for
процентов
each
20
monster.
урона у него забрали, но 80%
This will further
осталось,
help keep the
правильно?
game state understandable in hectic situations.
Карты также будет чистить легко, а
Beyond was
вот
introduced in August
на боссов чуть
2014,
посложнее будет.
initially as a hardcore-only challenge league. It's 8 years old now and certainly has several
Да,
issues.
да, да, карты будут присутствовать.
Firstly, the art.
Так,
Have you
Бейон,
ever
где?
really taken a close look at a Beyond demon? It is literally a bandit from Act 2, dunked in red paint. The second issue is its balance. The number of magic and rare monsters spawned is
Ох,
so
нихуя
much higher than the
заспавнилось
rest of the
сколько.
game, and whatever problems that resulted in before are magnified now that rare monsters are meant to be more difficult. Beyond also spawns way too many
Бля, ну
unique
если так
monsters,
будет
which
появляться,
causes
будет
its own set
классно.
of issues. In Lake of Calandra, we have given Beyond much more than a fresh coat of paint. The Scourge have taken over the realm
Yeah,
of the Beyond
yeah.
demons. The old
Типа
bandit
их
Beyond
много
demons are
было,
gone.
блядь.
Summoning monsters from Beyond will now summon Scourge monsters and bosses. We have completely rebalanced the rate that Beyond monsters and bosses spawn at so that it's appropriate for modern Path of Exile. The new Beyond monsters can now occasionally drop the Scourge League's tainted currency items that allow you to modify corrupted items.
Бля, ну это отстой. Да ладно, они...
We've also completely revamped how harvest
Охренеть.
crafting
Вы
works.
видели, что будет?
Rather than being presented with a selection of
Старая
crafting
валюта
options that
это
must be used immediately, you now receive itemized
появится.
tradable life force of the
Короче.
appropriate color. This life force can be used
Знаю.
later, in your own
Нихуя
time, at the
себе.
hoarder crafting bench in your hideout.
Что за бред?
Its crafting options are now priced in terms of this itemized
Так,
life
так,
force currency.
ебать, это чё? Чё они сделали с жатвой?
Tier 4 bosses are now encountered much more frequently and can drop a key to fight a Shabi. She yields special life force which can be used for a specific set of crafts. We have rebalanced all harvest crafts for the new system and have removed a bunch of filler
Они
crafts and
перебалансили
some ones
все
with
крафты.
deterministic outcomes that were incredibly RNG gated before.
Some crafts that provided access to exclusive content, like the special offerings to the goddess, have been removed because these items can now be found in more appropriate locations elsewhere in the game.
Сделали грядки и сделали боссов отдельно. Вот отдельно четвертое. То есть мы выбиваем валюту, из этой валюты уже у себя крафтим. По идее у нас будут все рецепты. По идее у нас будут все рецепты. И они будут стоить просто какое-то количество валюты.
Your interaction with the Sacred Grove is now far simpler as well. Just enter, pick your plots, defeat the monsters, and get on with your mapping. Like with Arch Nemesis and beyond, we have also addressed the monster composition of harvest fights, so that it doesn't contain too many rare monster mods, and so that it is of appropriate difficulty for its rewards. In addition, the rewards for harvest now scale with map quantity and pack size, incentivizing you to juice your maps.
Так что есть смысл теперь карты замазывать очень сильно. То есть, короче, чем жирнее ты намажешь карту, тем больше тебе выпадет монеточек в этом, блядь, харвесте. Мне интересно, сколько будет стоить самый пиздатый крафты, блядь. Охуеть. Да, вот это они, конечно, блядь, переделали. Но это на самом деле будет быстрее. Тебе не нужно использовать какие-то рефоржи, которые... То есть жатва будет реально быстрее. И жатву будет не обязательно фармить, ее можно будет просто монетки покупать. Интересно. Так, про миньонов, что я, блядь, договорился?
Path of Exile is a game about items, and that means that you will now be strongly rewarded for finding items that make your minions better. It also means that, like with other builds, if you find good items, you'll be far more damaging and
survivable. Короче, он говорит, что нужны лучшие итемы. Типа, игра, блядь, от итемов зависит.
Today I want to show you the new base item types we have added to help your minion itemization.
Today, типа сегодня он покажет. Ага, так, это что?
The bone ring.
This
ring has implicit minion elemental resistances and can roll minion-related modifiers.
Damage, movement. Это типа без влияния кольцо. Это можно даже фрактурить.
О, нихуя себе.
Собственное свойство с дамагом. Critical strike. Damage.
Some new minion-related mods have been added to the pool available to these ones, and some existing mods have been adjusted or made more common.
Это суффикс, наверное, крит.
We have repurposed the bone-themed spirit
shield,
so that they have minion damage implicit mods rather than spell damage, and can also roll minion-related mods.
О, вот, блядь, вот о чем я сегодня на стриме говорил. All Minion Skills. Заебись. +1 будет камням на щите. Вот эта тема. Вот это, сука, тема. Это прям, блядь, очень хорошо. Заебись. Это префикс будет. Это можно будет соединять два суффикса, как раньше было. Резервация и хп-блоки на этой базе. И в префиксах ловить камни. Но это камни там, конечно, блядь. Палки в цене вряд ли упадут. Короче, +1 гемом это заебись. Вот я надеялся, что это будет, блядь, в щите. И они реально добавили. Но такой щит будет скрафтить очень дорого. Бля, это классно, конечно.
We are changing the cost of crafting meta mods so that they cost divine orbs rather than exalted orbs.
А, короче, что-то они изменили.
Так,
что это, что они там с метамодами изменили. Опа, нихера себе. Да ладно. Там было 20 соединялок, теперь меняется. Шестеринки, короче, все, ушли, умерли нахуй. Фарм шестеринков, блядь, пошел по пизде.
We haven't been happy with the state of this Ascendancy class
recently. Ну это жесть.
While it used to be quite powerful, we moved its defining feature, Ghost Dance, onto the main passive skill tree. Since then, it has had a confused identity and hasn't met the power level of the other Ascendancy classes. In this expansion, we have reworked the Trickster with a focus on establishing thematic.
А вот не знаю, где теперь диваны брать. Ну все, диваны пизда, они сейчас на стандарте в цене так взлетят. Можно прям сейчас и закупать.
Enemies are slower than normal and cannot have their action speed raised above this value, such as through an acceleration shrine. Conversely, the Trickster is faster by default and cannot have action speed lowered below this value, effectively making
в жатве, кстати, их легче будет брать за монеты.
Freeze, chill, or temporal chains.
Но в жатве нельзя уники, блядь, переделывать. Так что да, диваны сильно вырастут.
Spellbreaker grants some spell suppression chance, which is an effect that reduces damage taken from spells.
Full energy, prevent,
The skill
suppress
also
spell
starts your energy
damage.
shield recharge half the time you suppress spells.
Suppress.
Since trickster characters tend to have a high evasion rating, you'll be evading some hits and recharging on others, meaning that your energy shield
Ну
recharge
это
stays
защитная,
active
блядь,
most of
как
the
бы
time.
тема. Защита, конечно, хорошо,
Spellbreaker
блядь.
also further improves
Но чувак
defenses by
вроде убийца,
reducing the
блядь, да?
damage you take from suppressed spells while on full energy shield. For those
Надо
who
как
want
бы
a different way to
атакующий
recover
чем-нибудь.
energy, the powerful Soul Drinker notable passive is no longer exclusive to forbidden jewels from the
Reach
Uber-steering
Stranger
Exarch at
increase
Eater of
attack
Worlds.
speed.
Any
Во
trickster
время
can now allocate this
похищения.
skill.
Энергощита. Energy shield.
Polymath provides more bonus damage, life,
Так,
mana, and energy shield on kill
recover.
for each different type of mastery you have allocated. It reinforces the idea of a trickster being a jack of all trades,
More
and will lead
damage
to interesting
boosted
decisions when
mastery
planning your
of
passive tree,
calculator.
trying to fit in as many different types of masteries as possible.
Polymath.
Overall, the new trickster is intended to be the Shadow's answer to the champion, but faster. He should be an exciting option for players who want to get a lot of evasion,
Ну это
energy
опять
shield,
же,
and
это про
recovery out of
живучесть.
their Ascendancy class while still being
Отхил
able to melt enemies.
и брони, и, блядь, похищение. И спел супресс. Это все про
Alongside
живучесть.
today's live stream, we're launching two new series of supporter packs, the Knight and Rogue
Это все про
packs.
живучесть.
Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points,
Такое.
plus several exclusive microtransactions.
Урона,
These
дайте
packs
урона,
are only
блядь.
available during the Calandra League and will leave the store forever in 3 months. Every microtransaction you are about to see is entirely cosmetic and does not affect your character's progression or power. The Knight Pack series contains 6 exclusive microtransactions, including the full Nightmaster.
Это новые паки.
The Aetheric Mana Flask releases a burst of mana upon activation, then draws in energy from the environment as your mana refills.
Короче, придется в, блядь, приспешников
The Hoarder's
вложиться.
Stash is a stash skin that can be used in your hideout.
Но, блядь, минус
As you place
2
items in the
камням все равно
stash, they
будет.
hover above it until you're finished, before being sucked into storage. This is the Nightmaster armor set. While wearing its helmet, your actions are periodically duplicated by an ethereal copy of yourself. The blood-scouring cloak absorbs
Короче, они
blood as you slay
переделали,
monsters,
получается,
retracts your kill
иномирцев
streak, and cleans
и
itself
убрали
off when the
шестеренки
slaughter
нахер.
ends.
Ой, ну не убрали шестеренки, и диваны убрали, да, с
The
продажи
Ring of the
шестеренки.
Victor causes a podium to
То
rise
есть
up
этот
underneath you
фарм
when you're
просто
standing
умирает.
still,
Сейчас секстанты
elevating
и
you above other
иномирцы
players.
просто упадут в цене. Оскверненные предметы, блядь, идут по звезде, считай.
The Warlord's Lieutenant Portal summons a warrior spirit who will greet you, cheer you on, and
Бля,
commend
это
you
они
on
что,
your
получается, они добавляют сферы соединения за шестеринки. И они возвращают в игру оскверненные сферы,
The Rogue Pack series has
которыми
6
оскверненный предмет
exclusive
соединяется.
microtransactions, including the Rogue Stalker
То есть,
armor set.
блядь, сфера соединения
The
опять
Beast
упадет
of
в цене,
Burden
блядь.
Pit visually carries your items for you,
И, блядь,
becoming more
вот эти
layered with
шестеринки
bags and
отдавать за
packs the
сферы
more full your
соединения,
inventory
вот
gets.
это просто настолько дешевая хрень будет. Вообще жесть.
The Collector's Serpent Shield covets the treasure you find. Whenever you pick up an item, the serpent darts out to grab
Это
it.
что было, блядь? Это дополнительный чемодан показали, блядь, или мне кажется?
This is the Rogue Stalker armor set. While wearing its gloves, critical strikes cause blades to appear and slice at your
Я что
enemies.
пропустил, блядь.
The corpse bloom footprints cause exotic plant growth in your wake. The plants especially love corpses and will seek them out and grow in larger patches around them.
Типа за отдельные бабки можно купить животное, я что-то проебал. Момент. Типа за отдельные деньги можно купить животное, которое будет еще предмет носить. Ну это
On the
просто
other
такое
hand, the
себе.
Undertaker's amulet inters corpses for you, burying them and marking their location with
Это
gravestones.
для тех, кто много дроп собирает, короче. Ёпта. Прикольно. Могилки.
The unstable explosives back attachment is not for the
Undertaker
faint
амулет,
of heart.
блядь.
As your life gets lower and lower, it gets closer and closer to exploding.
Приколисты, блядь.
And when you
Это
die,
что было,
your
нахуй?
party members will certainly feel it.
Охренеть. Ну такие стёбные, короче, добавили
As I mentioned
приколы.
before, these packs are exclusive to the Calandra League. and we'll leave the store in 3 months. They're available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and they directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1 expansions like Lake of Calandra.
Персонаж взрывается, это тоже
The
прикольно,
supporter
конечно.
packs introduced with a Sentinel expansion are leaving the store forever in 1 week. Now's your last chance to purchase them, and we greatly appreciate your support. Speaking of things leaving the store, the Kerrix Vault Pass for Sentinel is only available for the next few days also, and will leave the store forever when the league ends. There's no penalty for purchasing the pass late in the league after you've wrapped up your map completion, so if you're pleased with where you got to in maps and Sentinel and want to lock in your unique skins, it's not too late to buy your pass. Next up, we've got the Q&A with Ziggy D. Once that ends, we'll post the full patch notes for Lake of Calandra. Over the next week, our community team will post teasers for new and revamped unique items, upcoming quality of life improvements, and an announcement for the League launch race event. On launch weekend, we'll be running another set of Twitch drops, and expect to release the new Mystery Box and Kerrix Vault Pass in the days after launch. Thanks for joining us and checking out today's reveals. We can't wait to see you in Rayclast on August 19th. We'll begin the Q&A in a few moments, so please get your questions ready.
Что, сейчас вопросы будут от ZGD? Ну, это, наверное, херня какая-то. Так, где тут кинотеатр так вырубить? А игра играется? А где, блядь, забрать эту херню? Надо, типа, вообще проценты посмотреть. Я что-то уже даже не помню, блядь. Диваны тут покупать, короче, да, с диванами это вообще, блядь, жопа. Ну, интересная, конечно, штука. Заряженный компас. Секстант карат. All, how much? Он типа надеется, что старые секстанты типа... То есть он хочет купить секстанты... А какие? Подожди.
G'day folks, Ziggy D here, welcome back Exiles. Chris, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Excellent to have you back for some Q&A action after some very big announcements. Firstly though, super exciting news about ExileCon returning next year. It's actually a kind of a, I don't know if it was the same for other people, but it was kind of an emotional announcement because that was such a beautiful time for us last ExileCon, and you know, it's been a hard few years I think as well. So it hits kind of extra hard. What led to the decision to organize a new ExileCon now?
Well, we've wanted to run another one for a while, and it was unfortunate that immediately after the last one, there was a global pandemic and stuff, and that just made it too difficult to organize events, plus all of the safety issues. But things are looking both a bit safer, and we certainly have a lot of Path of Exile 2 stuff to talk about. And this kind of fits into the overall marketing plan for Path of Exile 2, is that next year is the year that we start to reveal pretty much everything. We're going to go through every game system, we're going to show all the areas, the classes, like... So much has changed since last time we talked about it. Like, it has evolved to be a bigger thing, and we want to talk about that in detail. And so we're going to start the marketing. Everything's going to debut at ExileCon 2023, and it's an opportunity. People can play the basically complete game at that stage. We can announce when the beta date's starting. We can go through panels.
Так они будут долго еще, то есть ты можешь
you know, kickstart the marketing and show people in other territories. You know, I think there's Gamescom, PAX West, and so on, various other places that we can then take that to after ExileCon.
That gives us a pretty firm-ish timeline for POE2 then, which is very exciting.
We won't be releasing it before July next year, that's correct.
That's true. We've been holding our breaths, I think, since last ExileCon.
Даже если ты их не будешь смотреть, ну, то есть ты их посмотришь, потом придешь на другого стримера, процентом продолжит идти.
Leaked its way in game since then, so I imagine that if you've got a whole new ExileCon of stuff to show, then, you know, How much more progress has there been made since then?
Yeah. Well, don't get your hopes up. We're not announcing another new sequel. Like, the ability to announce Path of Exile 2 on stage was a surprise that was amazing, but we're not announcing a Path of Exile 3, obviously. This is all about Path of Exile 2 and mobile. And whatever Path of Exile 1 expansion is immediately coming out after ExileCon, like the next one in the chain.
I mean, if you want to grab some news headlines, just be like, forget about Path of Exile 2. We're going straight to POE 3. Make headlines. How cold is it in Auckland in July, by the way? That's in winter for you Northern Hemisphere folks.
It's not too bad, actually. I mean, I'm in a t-shirt today, right? Like, it's pretty mild. It's not like the frigid suburbs of Melbourne or wherever you guys are. But seriously, for people in the Northern Hemisphere, I understand that your winters involve things like snow. We don't get that here. It's pretty much like 8 to 25 degrees C, you know, depending on what day it is, and it's not too bad. There are lots of good things to see in New Zealand in the winter. Like, there's a really good ski, you know, season going on at the same time in the cold parts of New Zealand, but in Auckland, it's no problem whatsoever. So we feel that having a convention during winter is not a big logistical issue.
Great. But yes, don't bring your, board shorts and...
Короче, вот марка вот эта прикольная, конечно, на постепенную.
And make some considerations if you're cosplaying as well.
То есть ты будешь кидать метку, которая будет увеличивать постепенный уровень. На боссах это прям вообще будет.
So, Lake of Calandra is the new league this time around, and the Mirrored Lakes look incredible. I love the basalt columns rising out and the reflection of the clouds and sun and stuff on the water. Is there some like new graphical tech here, or is this just finding some creative ways to use what you've got?
Well, the great thing about the way we're developing Exile 1 and 2 is we get basically the POE 2 engine and POE 1 that we can use as we see fit, and so that means when we wanted like surface reflections for the lake, we just found an engineer and said, how hard would this be? And the answer was less than 1 day. And so it's really helpful that we have like a world-class team of graphics engineers working on iterating. Even though we're not using most of the capabilities in POE 1, when we need to, we're definitely able to.
Awesome. Calandra is such a mythical figure in POE 2 as well, so like to do an expansion dedicated to her is a big decision, I guess. But without spoiling too much of the story, because I understand you don't want to spoil too much right now, but how did you arrive at like the theme and flavor for this expansion? Like,
много уников будет падать, будут монстры, с которых будет падать
We've wanted to explore Calandra for a while, and this is a perfect
То есть
opportunity
как мистер Коп эту
it
лигу
both
бегал,
fits the lore that we've built up for her, and also mechanically works really well with the out of area build a complicated set of encounters kind of thing. The theme of her being able to, her or the lake being able to reflect various aspects of Ray class, fitting in with the mirror theme and also fitting in with the fact that you're choosing encounters, which many of which are league content that players have played before with a bit of a twist on it. It helps kind of justify the fact that you're fighting creatures and that kind of stuff, not just arbitrarily. It's because she and the lake are intentionally able to actually manifest stuff from elsewhere in Rayclast.
Speaking of like this zone building concept, this seems like a pretty natural evolution of Synthesis's custom map building, which I'm very excited to see an expansion on that concept. But you don't need to collect a bunch of physical things this time. How is your approach to designing league content like this changing?
Well, we see this one as similar to Synthesis, similar to Incursion as well, because you're building an area, and we like to think that we've learned from mistakes we made in the past, which may not be the same mistakes that Twitch chat would call out that we've been making, but we have certainly improved how we're doing it. Also, another aspect here is that the difficulty scaling, in this case based on Manhattan distance depth from the origin when you're playing, that is similar to what we were doing in both Delirium, where there was difficulty based on distance from origin, and also with Sentinel, where you've got empowerment scores based on a bunch of stuff. So we've learned various ways of juicing up the risk and reward together and using the same kind of math here. But in terms of how we're iterating on these area building leagues, we're trying very hard to not be too micromanagey with this one. You will notice it's relatively easy. You find your mirrored tablet, you put some reflections on it, and then you run it. And you could do a little bit of swapping stuff around to try to make the layout a lot better, but that comes at the cost of not putting a reflection on the tablet. And so it in some ways rewards less micromanagement than usual, just getting in there and killing some monsters. But there'll be opportunities, of course, where people can micromanage it a little bit.
Yeah, well, that kind of segues into my next question, was like, how do you balance something like this between the people that want to just kind of jump in and versus the people who really want to think about it and min-max it and make it super challenging, that sort of thing?
I think you'll find cases where you want to opportunistically improve your tablet. So if you were to sit there just skipping lots of choices, trying very hard to get the things that move stuff around, you'd take forever to complete a tablet. And maybe you'd get one that's really cool and worth a lot, but you could have done 2 tablets in the same time. But you'll find situations where you realize, if I just swap this entrance location, it juices half the encounters on the tablet by a huge amount. And with one small change, or maybe moving one of the water tiles around to make a really long windy path around it, those kind of things there will let a person who's thinking about it deeply get a lot of extra value from the tablet. But to be completely honest, the way I'm playing it is slap some reflections on there and then go and struggle to complete them. So yeah, it's only the skilled players who are the ones who are going to want to be juicing it all the way.
That sounds familiar. How many maps does it take on average to build a mirrored lake at endgame?
So in the end game, there's approximately 11 or 12 blank tiles to fill in. The tablet size varies a little bit as it gets larger as you progress through. You normally get about 2 reflections per map, and so that's approximately 5 to 6 areas for each lake tablet that you want to build. So this is about twice as often as Incursion, where you'd be getting an Incursion temple every 11 areas or so. So we've doubled the rate that you're doing that, and these can be saved up. So it's entirely possible to just stack up a giant pile of maps, of lakes, in your stash and come back to them later on if you want to. And of course, they're fully tradable. So if you want to run a lot more lakes, you can just buy them from the trade site, basically.
That's great. How does the mirrored lake building and running work for co-op?
Well, whenever you find a mirrored tablet, everyone in your party gets to improve their tablet. So if you're running through an area together, whenever you get the ability to place a reflection down, everyone can do it on their own tablets. And then at the point that they decide to run the tablet, all the party members can take part in it.
We've already got some questions coming in from chat. Someone asked, how does the edge of the terrain in the mirror of Glint area affect things like projectiles like spark bouncing off them and things like that? Can you shoot?
A hidden realm I have overseen for longer than time itself.
Короче, твой джедропс мы забрали.
These waters harbor deadly secrets.
Русские субтитры, блядь.
Rayclast is reflected here. Reassemble it as you see fit.
45 минут смотреть, наверное. Ну, наверное, да. А ты посмотри, нажми на Твиче на свою иконку, получается. Вот. На свою иконку нажимаешь, что это процент должен быть нарисован. Ну, и любого стримера там все. А, у меня уже получше. На любого стримера заходишь, который POE, блядь, это лимит. Блядь, левер. Я люблю, чтобы прыгать. Ну, это сейчас не такое, блядь. Механика. Ну, прикольно, типа, ты можешь много всего выбить. Ну, как бы, блядь, даже не знаю. Опять же, на хай-левеле надо психика много будет сыпать. Но вот эта хрень мне что-то не особо нравится. Если честно, на какие-то мега крутые базы это не попадет, вообще не видно, что это мега крутые базы будут. Типа, что он сделает? Отрицательные станут положительными. Так, когда вы завершите схватку, вы получаете доступ к книгу отражающему туману. Вам сделать трудный выбор. Редкое кольцо или амулет с необычным набором свойств. Именно кольцо и амулет? Это все? А, то есть он предложит уже какое-то, блядь, кольцо. Ну, это похоже на какой-то, блядь, шмот для старта, блядь. Больше. То есть, значение некоторых высокие, других... Ну, да. Типа, если энергощита нет, там, не знаю, минус, да, плюс дамаг, там. Ну, это, допустим... Ну, короче, разные статы могут быть. Ну, хрень, короче. Reduced cold damage. Уменьшение типа дамага. Минус. Ну, вот это так вот ништяк, да. 70 резист. Ну, опять же, это затычка. Это, блядь, прям затычка максимальная. Пока это смотрится не очень. Requires level 48. Так как у каждого предмета будут свои плюсы и минусы. Да что вы говорите, иногда будут отрицательные свойства не будут влиять. Ну да, то, что не будет на билд как бы влиять, а плюсы будут как раз вот вообще шикарные, допустим. Новые типы бижутерии. Я говорю, эти базы потом уйдут на стандарт, и они будут соединяться рекомбинаторами. Какие-то невероятные, блядь, свойства. Там, где будет вот плюс 2, блядь. Плюс 2 камня, блядь. Вы понимаете, что это, блядь? Это пиздец. Максимум лайф там, блядь. Это будет 178 лайф. Максимум лайф 178, блядь, с амулета. Это фрактуришь, соединяешь с другим амулетом рекомбинатором. Это вообще еще и плюс 2 камня. Ух, бля, можно будет на стандарт такие шмотки принести, блядь, под рекомбинаторы. Вы сможете найти в озере. А, только в озере можно найти уникальное эксклюзивное кольцо. Эффект другого вашего. То есть у вас одно кольцо, а это делается таким же, короче. Я так понимаю, да? Сейчас не напишу. Или не напишу. Надеюсь, что лига станет делом, который ваш собственный последовательный схваток. Желаем уровень сложности, награды, управлять контентом, в который вы хотите играть. Valuable rewards, and offers a glimpse into the lore of one of Path of Exil's most iconic characters. We can't wait to play it with you next week. Блядь. Типа, ну там будет босс, наверное, вот этот, блядь, Каландра, блядь. In every expansion leading up to Path of Exile 2's release, we'll be improving Path of Exile's endgame with new content to explore and new ways to customize your endgame experience. In the Lake of Calandra expansion, we're introducing Atlas Memories. They aren't a league feature, they're part of the core game, affecting standard and persisting once the Calandra League is ended. Вот они даже говорят, что на стандарте. А, подожди, чё? Еще раз, блядь. Игру.
In the Lake of Calandra expansion, we're introducing Atlas Memories. They aren't a league feature, they're part of the core
часть основной игры, которая повлияет на Лигу Стандарт и останется после завершения. Да. Вот. На стандарте они будут сразу находить предмет. О, типа Ника. Demonic Onslaught. Res Contain Additional Large Breach. То есть большой разлом. Большую руку разлома, да? Боссы брича имеют шанс дропа камня бричстоуна. Время исследования карты вы сможете пережить события самостоятельно. Ну вот типа, блядь, это предвестники. Типа я увидел, что на обычной карте такие порталы предвестников. Это обычно только на плацдармах. Да, они на обычной карте. То есть можно такие порталы строить жесткие.
Each successive map you play in the sequence has more and more harbinger portals and invaders that you must deal with.
Вот это мне нравится. Мне интересно, как тут будут падать эти. Я сейчас дропа вообще здесь не видел. Как здесь камни будут падать. И что это за бричи будут? То есть рандомные разломы будут. Если будут рандомные разломы, это херня. Но если секстант на чаю будет действовать на эту хрень, и у тебя на каждой карте будет чаюла, такая карта чаюлы, блядь, чисто, там будет дохренище кусков чаюлы, Это, конечно, чего подражает. Ой, короче, что-то интересное. Типа ты заряжаешь. Ясно, сеть, которые будут охватывать воспоминания Атласа. Поговорите еще. NPC в вашем убежище. О своих воспоминаниях позволит вам начать их изучение. Ага. Ее, короче, карта будет от NPC идти, ее нельзя изменить. Бля, это, конечно, плохо, что нельзя изменить. А, не, можно. Смотри, меняет, блядь. Можно. Ништяк. Вот это хорошо. Полностью. Блин, это классно. Я думал, нельзя там замочек, типа такой. Оказывается, можно. Замечательно. Вознаграждать по мере усиления воспоминаний. Изменения, они являются очень редкими и ценными. То есть это редкая хрень будет. Вопрос. Нахуя начинать лиги? На стандарте будет эта вся хуйня. Только, блядь, озеро Каландры. Времени просто не будет сносить, блядь. Просто. And for everyone else, Atlas memories are a great way to earn some valuable items, if you're strong enough to complete them. The Lake of Calandra expansion also contains a new unique новая уникальная карта, которую я очень рад. Мастер испытаний возвращается. Это за тематику, который... И что самое главное, уникальных предметов. Какие-то, помню, с него там были, да, уники хорошие. Очень не хватало, они возвращаются в виде уникальной карты. Башня испытаний озера Каландры. Создана после завершения сложности вкусного контента ВАУ.
Whenever we're improving Path of Exile's endgame, we take every opportunity we can to add new variations of rewards that you can find. We don't want to say too much about how these are acquired, but in this expansion, it's possible to very rarely find special foil versions of any pinnacle boss unique item. These have the same stats as regular ones.
Как и обычно, но они определенно будут более востребованы.
But are certain to be highly prized by collectors or wealthy
коллекционерам или богатым игрокам.
Players wanting to show off. The Lake of Calandra expansion contains 14 new unique items. In addition to the Calandra's Touch Ring, that is exclusive to the Calandra Challenge League, we have introduced a new endgame pinnacle boss reward.
За нового босса. Ага, это с босса тут падает. Хотя не все, наверное. От спонсора уникальную башню создала. Карту башни испытаний. 6 новых самоцветов, великий образ. Типа вот эти вот. И даже несколько уникальных предметов для прокачки во время кампании. Ну, короче, беспонтовые уники добавили. Да, это мы все видели. Все говно.
Path of Exile has a lot of unique items in its core drop pool. Over 700, in fact. We feel that there are two big problems with unique. Reduce the overall 1,000 ribbon. Beneath them, based on the damage of the strongest ignite or poison on the enemy. The damage of the ground effects also scales with curse and mark effect, providing a non-standard way to scale your build's damage. Hitting the marked target also refills some of your flask charges. This new skill opens up an extra source of damage for ignite or poison-focused characters.
Ну вот банки заживут, я отвечаю. Сейчас банки, блядь. Скорее всего, многие на банках стартуют. Мне так кажется. Очень сильный ядом врагов.
That enemy drops caustic ground when it's poisoned, scaled by those big flame blast poison hits, melting everything into a puddle. Galvanic Field is a new shock themed spell. When used, you gain a buff to hit non-shocked enemies.
Это, короче, скиллы.
In Lake of Calandra, we are targeting 3 such leagues: Arch Nemesis, Beyond, and Harvest. The larger context here is that we've been re-examining what role rare and magic monsters have in Path of Exile. The introduction of arch-nemesis modifiers as the monster mod pool prompted quite a lot of discussion about how often you should encounter rare and magic monsters, how difficult they should be to kill, and how rewarding their death should be. Previously, League content made fights hard by spawning a lot of rare monsters.
Так, блядь, билд должен быть нормальный, чтобы этих монстров разъебать. Чё, блядь, это карты, это монстры обычные, блядь. Нахуй туда залез, у тебя нет, блядь, урона, блядь. Ну, тоже бред какой-то, блядь. Нахуй залезать в кучу мобов, все урон, блядь. Что за дураки, блядь.
You won't encounter situations with dozens of rare monsters on screen at once anymore. Alongside this reduction of how many rare monsters you face, we have improved their rewards and made sure that they scale with both difficulty of the encounter and any
Значит,
extra
типа
rarity
мало
bonuses
этих мобов
that you
будет.
have. During the campaign, you'll only encounter 1 and 2 mod rare monsters. The 2 mod encounters
Ну
are a
да,
bit harder
типа
and
меньше свойств будет на прохождении. Да.
touched mod rare monsters have. This may result going
Ну,
forward.
вот,
So
вот,
if you kill a
это
4
интересно. По уникальный предмет свойский трав поднимает уровень редкости предмет на 1.
So magic becomes rare, rare becomes unique, and so on.
Редкий и так далее. Ну вот, я про эту хрень говорил. То есть можно встречать монстров, которых очень много уников будет падать. И пати и меферы очень много, блядь, могут вытащить уников.
Due to the high amount of inherent item rarity that 4 mod rare monsters
Monsters
have,
have,
this may result in several
может
unique
привести к
jewels
тому, что
dropping.
упадет несколько уникальных самоцветов.
This conversion system is fully compatible with your item rarity and quantity bonuses, as well as the drop bonuses from all other arch-nemesis mods. Going forward, we want to make sure that a lot more item reward mechanics scale with your character item bonuses. Get your magic find characters ready. As a result of this system, when you do encounter a rare monster with many arch-nemesis mods, you are well rewarded for the difficult fight.
А сейчас типа не так, что ли?
We have
Типа,
also
если
been
много
listening to
свойств в
feedback
интернете
about
не
the
падаешь,
arch-nemesis mods
вроде
that can
все
spawn
падает.
on magic monsters. Too many of them had external visual clarity
Я они
issues
типа
like
еще
on
лучше
death
сделал.
effects. We have toned these down on magic monsters so that more of them are stat-based bonuses that aren't so spammy. Encounters that spawn a series of magic monsters now make sure to preserve the same arch-nemesis modifiers between the monsters rather than rolling a different one for each monster. This will further help keep the game state understandable in hectic situations. Beyond was introduced in August
Beyond, да,
2014,
качественное
initially as a hardcore
испытание,
only
14
challenge
году
league.
добавили, охренеть.
It's 8 years old now and certainly has several issues.
С рядом проблем каких?
Firstly, the art. Have you ever really
Нормальное
taken a close
отображение.
look at a Beyond demon?
Где в мире? Это просто облито краской. Ну, модели, да, старые. Разбойник из Трува.
It's literally a thread from Act 2, dunked in red paint. The second issue is its balance. The number of magic and rare
Количество порождаемых редких
monsters
монстров
spawned is so much higher than the rest of the game.
намного выше, чем в других частях игры. Каких, блядь,
And whatever
других?
problems that result
Типа, которые были вызваны с этим царством раньше.
are magnified now that rare monsters are meant to be more difficult.
Сложность этих
Beyond
монстров
also spawns
на
way
мире
too
также
many
было
unique
слишком
bosses,
много
which
уникальных,
causes its
что также влекло за собой ряд проблем. То есть фарм шестеренков это была проблема. И они ее решили, блядь. Шестеренки теперь становятся этим за фьюзы продаются. Охуенно они решили проблему. Это была проблема.
In Lake of Calandra,
Нечто большее, чем просто новое
we've
ведро
given Beyond
краски.
much more than a fresh coat of paint. The Scourge have taken over the realm.
Нашествие. Ну, короче, они теперь
The old
будут
bandit Beyond demons are
монстрами
gone.
нашествия.
Summoning monsters from Beyond will now summon Scourge monsters and bosses. We have completely rebalanced the rate that Beyond monsters and bosses spawn at so that it's appropriate for modern Path of Exile. The new Beyond monsters
Короче. Теперь охота на мирцев это будет охота на редкую валюту, блядь. Вот эта валюта, которая осталась у нас с лиги нашествия, она сейчас подешевеет, блядь. Я ее, блядь, держал, думал, она нахуй никогда не вернется. Где она, блядь, вообще есть? Вот она, блядь. Соединялки вот эти. Сейчас, сука, все подешевеет, потому что оно будет в игре, короче. Да. Ну, шестеринки, естественно, будет оскверненные опять на старте легко делать. Да, порочная валюта, короче, возвращается. Прикольно. Короче, соединялки будут, блядь, дешевыми теперь. Шестисотки нет смысла собирать. Вообще шестисотки отпадает смысл собирать. Что фьюзы будут очень дешевые. Имеет цену, видишь, это жизненная сила. Появляются намного чаще. Да что вы, блядь, неужели? Ключик будет осуществлять долго собственным которым. Да, то есть на крафт, скорее всего, нужны будут эти хуйни, которые с боссов падают. То есть на крафты боссов, скорее всего, нужны будут именно вот эти сакры, кристаллизы Life Force. То есть, типа, фрактуров. То, что с боссов, короче, падали, короче, рецепты какие. Вот фрактур, расколотое свойство, оно падало с босса. Теперь, скорее всего, оно будет крафтиться только с вот этой херней. То есть, ты босса убил, и можешь любой такой крафт использовать. Жатва может зажить новой жизнью. Случайно составляющая ремесла. Вот, типа фиолетовая грядка, желтая, синяя, и вот боссы. Вот здесь будут типа самые топовые крафты, насколько я понимаю. Охренеть. Охренеть. Жатву, конечно, переделали. Подношения были... Так, что-то... Надо почитать, что они все пишут. Подношения были удалены. А где теперь подношения улучшаются? Некоторые рецепты, которые предоставляли доступ к эксклюзивному контенту, например, подношения были удалены, потому что эти предметы могут быть найдены в более подходящих местах в игре. Это где нам теперь, блядь, проходки на лабиринт фармить? Более подходящих. Интересно. Интересно. Дар богини, типа на самую... Там где 8 зачарок. Где он теперь будет падать? Когда вы завершаете жатву, вам дается 30 рецептов. Вам не дается 30 рецептов, которые должны быть немедленно, да. Которых вы нашли. Вот, ну да, вот это имеется в виду. Зачистка личной жизненной силы будет использована в одном из ваших предметов. Тогда, ну да, вот когда это будет удобно. Это, конечно, классно. Заходите, выбирайте грядки. Да, вот типа ты зашел, поубивал, блядь. Это, кстати, намного лучше. Реально, это намного лучше. Охренеть. Слишком много этих. Награда будет соответственно сложности. Ну да. Побуждая вас намазывать карты, да. Это классно. Это классно. Короче, жатву переделали просто круто.
There are plenty more changes, which we will include in the full patch notes that will be posted after this live stream. But on this stream, I'd like to talk about a few specific areas. Minion itemization, exalted and divine orbs, and the trickster ascendancy.
Ну, это я уже понял. То есть там добавить нам щит, на котором можно будет плюс один камня херачить, да? Это хорошо. То есть, короче, это скорее всего префикс, потому что все камни, они в префиксах находятся. А у нас как раз щиты на приспешниках, они без префиксов в основном. Ну, то есть там рандомные префиксы ХП, там броня, не знаю. А вот в суффиксах как раз у нас два влияния. Это ХП предлоки и резервация маны. То есть делаешь два суффикса и потом пытаешься словить в префиксе плюс камня. Но это будет, скорее всего, очень маленький процент. Это будет сделать очень сложно. Но я думаю, можно поковыряться и сделать.
Alongside the stable of existing unique items, there's now quite a lot more base type support for minion characters.
Можно на базе создателя это все сделать. Типа она в префиксе поймать, а потом крутить суффиксы создателя на хп, пока тебе резервация там не выпадет. И резервация и блок хп. То есть типа так это уже можно будет не смотреть, если честно. Supported packs. Все. Короче, как будет выглядеть щит? Типа ты берешь этот щит. Да. Offhand. Ну, он будет интовый, наверное, да, на интеллект. Вот типа такой, блядь. Сменим шейпера, блядь. В префиксе ты ролишь +1 камням. Ну, допустим, блядь. Вот здесь физикал есть, да? Ролим типа +1 камня. Потом, что мы делаем? Это сменение создателя, правильно? В суффиксах здесь есть и резервация, и хп при блоке. Где у него есть тут? О, Socket at Games Reservation он имеет. И плюс хп при блоке. И что мы будем делать? Ну, это уже идеальный будет щит. Мы будем как делать? Блокируем префиксы. У нас префиксы плюс камням есть, да? Префиксы нельзя изменить. И кидаем там, допустим, рефорж. Где жатва? Рефорж хп. Рефорж плюс. Кидаем хп. Так, не то, блядь, да? Опять переделываем. Опять переделываем хп. Короче, вот хп при блоке мы поймали. И еще нужно резервацию поймать. И кидаем, пока не поймаем хп при блоке, блядь, с резервацией. Это, конечно, возможно, очень много времени займет, но это будет прям крутой щит. Скорее всего, примерно так он и будет крафтиться. Или ты будешь крафтить уже как бы резервацию. Резервацию хп при блоке и пытаться уже +1 камням ставить. Это будет сложнее. У камней маленький вес. Ну, короче, щит будет стоить очень дорого. Топовый. То есть с 3 нужными статами щит будет стоить дорого. И это хорошо. Это реально хорошо. Ладно, что, буду заканчивать, короче. В общем, все интересно было. А ну-ка, подожди-ка. Или не буду заканчивать. А ну-ка, давай тут вниз опустим. Отражение рекласта. Так, тут они не покажут. Но это бижутерия только, блядь. Это неинтересно. Только бижутерия отраженная может быть. Это воспоминания. Так, скиллы, уники. А, ну вот новые уники здесь можно посмотреть. А, это ультиматы. Ультиматами типа тоже уники можно уникальные будет достать. Exile Con. Ну короче, жатву они не показали. Рецепты. Ну, я думаю, да, на этом, короче, можно заканчивать. Так что до скорых встреч. Обновы будут классные. Либо можно пропустить, но играть дальше на стандарте. Я сомневаюсь, что лига будет очень интересная. Так что до следующего стрима. Уже, наверное, в субботу вечером. Хотя нет, в субботу вечером не будет. Наверное, до воскресенья. В воскресенье побегаем. Еще что-нибудь пообсуждаем интересно. Ну и всем удачки, всем